The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest building ever made by any species. Its walls rose so high that clouds sometimes formed near the ceiling. Thousands of seats filled the chamber, each one holding a representative from a different world. For 6,000 years, this hall had been the center of all power in the galaxy. Ambassador Hannah Kong walked across the marble floor. Her footsteps echoed in the silence. She was small compared to most of the aliens watching her. The Orothi were 3 meters tall with gray skin and 4 arms. The Velith had bodies like giant insects. The Morin floated in tanks of green liquid. Next to all of them, Hannah looked like a child, but she did not feel like a child. She felt like a woman whose planet had just been pushed too far. High Speaker Morith sat on his throne at the center of the chamber. He was the oldest and most powerful Orothi alive. His 4 eyes looked down at Hannah with something between boredom and disgust. "You may speak, human," he said. His voice was deep and slow, like stones grinding together. Hannah bowed her head slightly. "High Speaker, I come to ask the Council to end the blockade of New Bizan. 4 million of my people live on that world. They are running out of food. Children are dying." A sound moved through the chamber. It took Hannah a moment to understand what it was. Laughter. The representatives were laughing at her. Councillor Vrel, the head of the Orothi Dominion, leaned forward in his seat. "Your colony expanded beyond its allowed borders. This is the consequence. Perhaps your species should learn to control its breeding." More laughter filled the hall. Hannah kept her face calm. She had practiced this for years. Humans had been members of the Council for 60 years, and in all that time, they had never been treated as equals. The older species called them young and primitive. They said humans bred too fast, lived too short, and felt too much. "Counselor," Hannah said, "our colony farms were destroyed by a solar event. We expanded only to grow enough food to survive. We asked for help. We were ignored. We asked for permission to expand temporarily. We were denied. What choice did we have?" High Speaker Morith waved one of his 4 hands. "You had the choice to accept your place. Humans are a minor species. You have been part of this council for merely 60 years. The Orothi have guided this galaxy for 6,000. You do not make demands of us." Hannah opened her mouth to respond, but at that moment, her communication device vibrated against her wrist. She looked down at it. Her face went pale. "High Speaker," she said, and her voice was different now, quieter. "I have just received a report. 3 hours ago, Orothi warships fired on civilian transport vessels attempting to bring food to New Bizan." The laughter stopped. 847 humans are dead, Hannah continued. 212 of them were children. Silence filled the chamber. Councillor Vrel shifted in his seat, but did not speak. High Speaker Morith showed no emotion. They were warned. The blockade was clear. They chose to break our law. They chose to feed their families, Hannah said. Then they chose death. Morith's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "This matter is closed. Return to your seat, human." Hannah did not move. Her communication device vibrated again. She looked at it for a long moment. When she raised her head, something had changed in her eyes. The fear was gone. The careful diplomacy was gone. What remained was something cold and hard. "High Speaker," she said, "I have one more message to deliver." Morith made an annoyed sound. "Speak quickly. The United Earth government has reviewed the situation. They have considered the blockade. They have considered the deaths of our civilians. They have considered 60 years of insults, restrictions, and discrimination." Hannah paused. "They have authorized me to deliver the following message." She straightened her back and looked directly at the High Speaker. "Humanity formally declares war on the Galactic Council. For a moment, there was complete silence. Then the laughter began again, louder than before. Representatives from 100 worlds pointed at the small human woman and laughed until tears ran down their faces. Counselor Vrel was laughing so hard he had to hold his sides. War? You have 200 ships. We have 15,000. Your species is 60 years old in space. We have been traveling between stars for longer than your kind has existed. High Speaker Morith was not laughing. He was watching Hana with a strange expression. Human, do you understand what you are saying? We could destroy your homeworld in a single day. You could try, Hana said. You would all die? Perhaps. Hana's voice was steady. But we would not die alone, and we would not die quietly. Morith leaned back on his throne. You are emotional. Your species has always been emotional. Go back to your government. Tell them to apologize. Perhaps we will be merciful. Henna smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. High Speaker, do you know why humans live such short lives compared to your kind? Morith did not answer. It is because we burn brighter, Hana said. We feel more. We love more. We hate more. And when someone hurts our children, we do not forget. We do not forgive. We do not stop. She turned and began walking toward the exit. You are making a mistake, Morith called after her. A terrible mistake. Hana stopped at the door. She looked back over her shoulder at the thousands of alien faces watching her. Most were still laughing. A few were not. A few of the older species, the ones who had studied human history, looked worried. High Speaker, Hana said, 60 years ago, when we first made contact with your council, you asked us a question. You asked us why we had so many weapons, why we had so many soldiers, why we had spent so much of our history fighting ourselves. She paused. We told you it was because we were young and foolish. We told you we had learned peace. We told you we had changed. Her eyes were hard. We lied. She walked out of the chamber. The laughter continued for a few more minutes. Then, slowly, it faded. The representatives began talking among themselves. Most of them were amused. A few were confused. What could humans possibly do against the might of the Galactic Council? Only Counselor Vrel remained silent. He was thinking about something he had read long ago in an old report about Earth. Something about a creature called a human. Something about how they had hunted animals much larger and stronger than themselves. How they had chased their prey for days without stopping. How they had never, ever given up. He felt a strange coldness in his stomach. For the first time in his long life, Counselor Vrel was afraid. The council expected the war to last 3 weeks. Their admirals had calculated everything. Humans had only 200 warships. The council had 15,000. The mathematics was simple. The humans would fight. They would lose, and they would surrender. Then everything would return to normal. The mathematics was wrong. On the 3rd day of the war, 3 Orthy military stations went dark. They simply stopped sending signals. When rescue ships arrived, they found nothing but wreckage floating in space. No survivors. No distress calls. No explanation. Admiral Tae Woo Jin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dokdo, and watched the reports come in. He was a tall man with gray hair and a face that rarely showed emotion. He had been a soldier for 40 years. He had trained for this moment his entire life. Ghost Fleet reports successful, his communications officer said. All 3 targets destroyed. Tay nodded. Casualties? None, sir. Good. Move to Phase 2. Across the galaxy, human ships appeared in places they should not be. They used technology the Council had never seen. Engines that left no heat signature. Weapons that cut through shields like paper. They struck fast, killed everything, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. On the colony world of New Bizan, General Sora Yun led her ground forces against the Orothi garrison. The aliens had expected a formal battle. They had expected the humans to line up in neat rows and exchange fire according to the ancient rules of civilized warfare. Instead, the humans came at night. They came through tunnels they had dug in secret. They came from the sky in small pods that fell like rain. They came with knives when their guns ran empty. They did not stop for food or sleep or prayer. They just kept coming. The Orothi commander sent a message to his headquarters. They will not stop. They will not negotiate. They fight like animals. We need reinforcements. He never received a reply. 6 hours later, his garrison was gone dot in the intelligence center of Earth's military headquarters. Officer Nari Park studied reports from across the galaxy. She was young, barely 30, but she understood alien minds better than anyone alive. It was her job to predict what the enemy would do. She walked into Admiral Tay's office and placed a file on his desk. "They do not understand," she said. Tay looked up. "Explain." "The Council species have not fought a real war in 6,000 years. When they fight, it is ritual, displays of power, negotiations. They exchange fire until one side decides the cost is too high. Then they talk. They have rules. They have limits." She paused. "We have none. They will learn." "Yes, but by the time they learn, it will be too late." Nari sat down across from him. "Admiral, I have studied their psychology. They see us as children, primitive, emotional. They cannot imagine that we are a threat, even now. As we destroy their stations, they believe it is luck, tricks. They are waiting for us to behave like a proper species and ask for peace." Tay was quiet for a moment. "And when they realize we will not, they will panic." Nari's eyes were cold. "And panicked enemies make mistakes." Far away, on the Council homeworld, Counselor Vrel was not panicking. He was doing something worse. He was researching. The Orothi kept records of every species they had ever encountered. Thousands of worlds. Millions of years of history. Vrel spent 3 days reading everything the Council had ever collected about humans. What he found made his 4 hearts beat faster. Humans were persistence predators. On their homeworld, they had hunted animals by chasing them for days until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. They did not need to be faster or stronger. They simply needed to never stop. Humans had fought wars that lasted decades. They had killed 100 million of their own kind in a single century. They had built weapons that could destroy entire cities in a flash of light, and they had chosen not to use them, not because they could not, but because they wanted to. They were not primitive. They were restrained. Vrel found a human word that had no translation in any Council language. Total war. It meant a war where there were no rules, no limits, no civilians. Everything and everyone became a weapon. Factories, farms, schools, children, everything. He called an emergency meeting of the senior council members. "We must end this war," he said. "We must end it now." High Speaker Morth looked at him with contempt. "You are afraid of animals? I am afraid of what they can become." Vrel showed them the records. "Look at their history. They have been killing each other since before they could write. War is not new to them. It is their nature. We woke something we do not understand." Admiral Corvin, commander of the Council's combined fleet, laughed. "I have 800 ships ready to attack their colonies. We will crush them in days." "They want you to attack," Vrel said. "They are waiting for you. Let them wait." Corvin stood up, his gray skin shining under the lights. "I will show you how real soldiers fight. When I return, I will bring you the human admiral's head." He walked out of the chamber. Vrel watched him go. He wanted to call him back. He wanted to show him more records, more evidence, more warnings. But he knew it would not matter. The Orathi were proud. They had ruled the galaxy for 6,000 years. They could not imagine losing to a species that had been in space for only 2 centuries. 3 days later, Admiral Corvin's fleet arrived at the human colonies. Captain Jin De-ho was waiting for them. Chin was not a large man. He was quiet and thin and smiled often. His crew loved him because he remembered their names and asked about their families. His enemies feared him because he never lost. His ship, the Baekdu, was a stealth carrier. It looked like a cargo vessel. It was not. How many? Jin asked his censor officer. 812 ships, Captain. Standard council formation. Jin nodded. He opened a channel to his fleet. 340 ships hidden among asteroids and debris. Friends, he said, they have come to our home with fire and death. They have killed our families. They have laughed at our pain. Today, we answer them. He paused. Remember New Bizin. Remember the children. And show them what happens when you make humanity angry. The human fleet emerged from hiding like ghosts rising from graves. Admiral Corvin had 7 seconds to feel fear before the first. Missiles hit his flagship. In the battle that followed, he learned something that no council species had ever understood. Humans did not fight to win. Humans fought to destroy. When the battle ended, 460 council ships were burning wreckage. The rest were running. Admiral Corvin's head was never found, and across the galaxy, the laughter finally stopped. The council chamber was quiet now. No one was laughing. The seats that had been full of proud representatives were half empty. Some species had already started secret talks with Earth. Others had simply gone home to prepare for what was coming. High Speaker Morth sat on his throne and tried to understand how everything had gone so wrong. In 6 weeks, humanity had destroyed 40% of the Council's military fleet. They had taken back every colony that had been blockaded. They had captured 12 major star systems. And they showed no signs of stopping. Counselor Vrel walked into the chamber with a small human woman beside him. She had black hair and calm eyes and carried a simple bag over her shoulder. "This is Dr. Hyon Mi Ray," Vrel announced. "She is a historian. She has agreed to help us understand what we are fighting." Morith's 4 eyes narrowed. "You bring an enemy into our sacred hall?" "I bring knowledge," Vrel said. "Something we desperately need." Dr. Hyon bowed politely to the assembled council members. She was 62 years old and had spent her entire life studying human history. She had written books about wars, about peace, about the strange path her species had walked to reach the stars. "Thank you for allowing me to speak," she said. Her voice was soft and pleasant. "I know you have questions. I will try to answer them." Morith leaned forward. "Your species has 200 ships. We have, or had, 15,000. How is this war possible?" Dr. Hyon smiled gently. "High Speaker, may I ask you a question first? How long has it been since the Council fought a real war?" Morith was silent. 6,000 years, Dr. Hyon answered herself. "Your records are very complete. We have read them all. In 6,000 years, your conflicts have been small. Border disputes, trade disagreements, shows of force followed by negotiations. You have forgotten what real war looks like." She opened her bag and pulled out a small device. An image appeared in the air above her, a photograph of a ruined city. "This is a place called Hiroshima," she said. "In the year 1945 of our calendar, one of our nations dropped a single bomb on this city. 80,000 humans died in less than a second. Another 60,000 died in the weeks that followed. The council members stared at the image. "We did this to ourselves," Dr. Hyan continued. "We built these weapons and used them on our own kind. And Hiroshima was small compared to what came later." She showed them more images. Trenches filled with bodies. Cities burning. Soldiers frozen in snow. Ships sinking in dark water. In a single century, we killed more than 100 million of our own people in wars. We did not stop because we ran out of weapons. We did not stop because we were tired. We stopped because we chose to stop. Because we built something better. Because we hoped we had learned. She put the device away. "You asked how this war is possible. The answer is simple. You are fighting a species that spent 10,000 years learning how to kill. Every weapon you have, we invented first. Every strategy you use, we used against each other long ago. Your ancestors were building their first cities when ours were already burning each other's to the ground." High Speaker Morith's voice was cold. "You speak of your savagery as if it were something to be proud of." "I speak of it as truth," Dr. Hyan said. "Pride has nothing to do with it. I am not proud of what we were. I am proud of what we became. We took our violence and chained it. We built laws and treaties and systems to keep ourselves from destroying everything. When we came to your council, we hoped to find partners in peace." Her voice hardened. "Instead, we found arrogance. You looked at us and saw primitives. Animals. You laughed at our short lives and our strong emotions. You put restrictions on our colonies. You blocked our trade. And when we asked for help, when our children were starving, you killed them." The chamber was absolutely silent. "You called us young," Dr. Hyan said. "You were right. We are young. Our emotions burn hot. We love deeply. We hate deeply. And when someone hurts our families, we remember forever." She walked closer to the High Speaker's throne. "I came here to give you a warning, Morith. Not a threat. A warning. Right now, human factories are producing warships at 4 times the rate they were 6 weeks ago. Every day, more of our people volunteer to fight. We are converting civilian ships into weapons platforms. We are building things we swore we would never build again." She paused. "In 6 months, we will have more ships than your entire council combined. In a year, we will have 10 times that number. You have seen what we can do with 200 ships. Imagine what we will do with 10,000. Morith tried to speak, but no words came out. "You still have a chance," Dr. Hyan said softly. "A small chance. You can end this war. You can give us justice. You can admit that what you did was wrong. Humans are not unreasonable. We do not want to destroy you. We only want to be treated as equals." For a long moment, Morith was silent. Then his 4 eyes narrowed. "You think you frighten me?" He said. "You think your history of killing each other makes you strong? You are still inferior. Your lives are short. Your ships are crude. You may win battles, but you cannot win this war. The Council has resources you cannot imagine." Dr. Hyan looked at him with something like sadness. "High Speaker, every species that has ever said those words to humans is now extinct. We did not kill all of them. Some we saved. Some we lifted up and made into partners. But the ones who thought they were too strong to fall, the ones who believed they could not lose?" She shook her head. "They are gone, all of them." She turned and walked toward the door. "Wait," Counselor Vrel called after her. "What happens now?" Dr. Hyan stopped, but did not turn around. "Now, Admiral Corvin's fleet is destroyed. Soon, your shipyards will be targeted. Then your supply lines. Then your colonies. And finally, your homeworld. Can we negotiate? You can try." Dr. Hyan's voice was tired. "But I will tell you what my government's position is. Hi, GH Speaker Morth must face trial for ordering the attack on our civilians. All human prisoners must be released. The Council must publicly acknowledge the wrongs committed against our people. And if we refuse? Dr. Hyan finally looked back. Her eyes met Frel's across the chamber. Then we will take what we want, she said. And we will make sure that no one is ever able to hurt our children again, no matter the cost. She walked out. Counselor Vrel looked at High Speaker Morth. The old Orathy's face was hard with anger, but Vrel could see something else beneath it. Something he had never seen there before. Fear. We should negotiate, Vrel said quietly. Morth's 4 fists clenched. Never. We are the Council. We do not bow to primitives. He stood up from his throne. Send a message to the Outer Fleet. Tell them to prepare the silence weapon. If the humans will not surrender, we will give them something to truly fear. Vrel's blood went cold. High Speaker, that weapon has not been used in 4,000 years. It is meant only for extinction-level threats. And what do you think these humans are? Morth's voice was like ice. They want war. We will give them annihilation. He walked out of the chamber. Vrel stood alone in the great hall, surrounded by empty seats and silence. He thought about Dr. Hyan's words. He thought about human history. He thought about what would happen when Morth used the silence weapon. And for the first time in his long life, he began to pray. Lieutenant Yoon Seong was 19 years old when the war started. She had joined the military because she wanted to see the stars. She had never expected to fight in the largest war in galactic history. Now she stood on the bridge of the carrier Hala and watched the stars burn. The Battle of the Rim had been going for 16 hours. All around her, ships were dying. Council vessels exploded in flashes of light. Human ships broke apart and scattered into darkness. The space between 2 star systems had become a graveyard. Commander Yu is dead, the communications officer reported. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. The bridge took a direct hit. Yoon felt the words hit her like a physical blow. Commander Yu had been her mentor. He had taught her everything she knew. And now he was gone. Who is next in command? Someone asked. Everyone looked at Yuen. She was the senior surviving officer on the ship. She was 19 years old, and she was now responsible for 1,200 lives. Yoon took a deep breath. She thought about her mother on Earth. She thought about her little brother, who was probably watching the news and praying for her. She thought about the 6 million people on New Incheon who are counting on the fleet to protect them. I am, she said. Her voice did not shake. All stations report status. Across the battle zone, Admiral Tae Woo-jin commanded the human fleet from his flagship. He had been awake for 36 hours. His eyes burned with exhaustion, but he could not rest. Not yet. Enemy fleet is breaking formation, his tactical officer reported. They are trying to retreat. Do not let them. Tae's voice was calm. All ships pursuit formation. No one escapes. The human fleet moved like a single creature. Ships that had been fighting alone suddenly came together, cutting off escape routes, trapping enemy vessels in killing zones. The Council fleet had more ships, but they fought as individuals. The humans fought as one. This was something the Council had never understood. Humans were pack hunters. They worked together in ways that other species could not imagine. A human captain would sacrifice his own ship to save another. A human pilot would fly into certain death if it meant her wingmen could survive. They did not fight for glory or honor. They fought for each other. By the 20th hour, the Council fleet was destroyed. 460 ships turned to wreckage. The rest scattered into deep space, running for home. Admiral Tae allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Then the message came. Admiral, his communications officer's face was pale. You need to see this. The screen showed a planet, green and blue and beautiful, spinning slowly against the darkness of space. New Incheon, home to 6 million humans. The largest colony outside of Earth. Then the screen turned white. When the light faded, the planet was gone. In its place was a spreading cloud of debris. Rock and metal and ice, all that remained of 6 million lives. The silence weapon. The Council had used it. They had destroyed an entire world to send a message. Tay stared at the screen. His face showed nothing, but inside something changed. Something cold and hard settled into his chest like a stone. "Admiral?" His officer's voice was barely a whisper. "What are your orders?" Tay was silent for a long moment. "Contact Earth Command," he said finally. "Tell them what happened. Tell them I am requesting authorization for Protocol Omega." The officer's face went even paler. "Sir, Protocol Omega is a total war declaration. It removes all restrictions on weapons and targets. It means no prisoners, no mercy, no negotiation. I know what it means." Tay's voice was quiet. "Do it." On Earth, the news of New Incheon spread in minutes. 6 million people, gone in a flash. Families destroyed. Children murdered. An entire world erased because the Council was angry. The response was immediate. Factories that had been working double shifts went to triple shifts. Civilians who had never held a weapon lined up at recruitment centers. Scientists who had locked away their most dangerous research unlocked it. Politicians who had been calling for peace went silent. The humans did not scream or cry or panic. They went quiet. And in that silence, something terrible was born. Counselor Vrel tried desperately to open peace channels. He sent messages to Ambassador Hana, begging her to negotiate. He promised anything, everything. "Just stop. Please stop." Hana's reply was short. "You killed our children. There is nothing left to discuss." General Sora Yun received her orders on the same day. She was to take the Second Army and begin the campaign against Council Space. Her objectives were simple: destroy all military installations, capture all shipyards, eliminate all resistance. Rules of engagement? Her aide asked. Sora looked at the image of New Incheon's debris field. 6 million people. She had friends on that world. Family. "Military targets receive no mercy," she said. "Civilians will be protected. We are not monsters." "And if they use civilians as shields?" Sora's jaw tightened. "Then we find another way. We do not become what they are. We do not murder innocents. But soldiers, officers, anyone who wears a uniform?" Her eyes were ice. "They die." The human advance began 3 days after New Incheon. It was not a war. It was a storm. Human fleets appeared everywhere. They struck without warning and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. They targeted shipyards, supply depots, communication stations. They were destroying the Council's ability to fight. But something strange happened alongside the destruction. On worlds that surrendered, humans did not take revenge. They brought food for civilians. They rebuilt hospitals. They freed prisoners and treated the wounded, even enemy wounded. A Council commander, captured after his station fell, asked General Sora why. "You destroyed our planet," he said. "Why do you not destroy ours?" Sora looked at him with something he did not understand. It might have been pity. "Because we are not fighting your people," she said. "We are fighting your government, your soldiers, the ones who gave the orders and the ones who followed them. Civilians did not kill our children. We will not kill yours." The commander shook his head. "I do not understand you. You are the most violent species we have ever encountered, and also the most merciful. How can both things be true?" Sora thought about the question for a long time. "On our world," she said finally, "there is an old saying, An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. We know what vengeance costs. We have paid that price many times. So we choose carefully. We destroy what threatens us. We protect what does not. She stood up. Your High Speaker made a choice when he fired that weapon. He chose to make this a war of extermination. We refuse. We will end this war. We will punish those responsible. But we will not become genociders. That is the difference between us and him. On the Council homeworld, High Speaker Morth watched his empire crumble. Every day brought news of another defeat, another lost system, another fleet destroyed. Counselor Vrel came to him one last time. They are coming, Vrel said. The human fleet will be here in weeks, perhaps days. We must surrender. We must face justice. It is the only way to save our people. Moreth's 4 fists clenched with rage. I am the High Speaker. I do not surrender to animals. They are not animals. Vrel's voice was tired. They never were. We were fools to think so. And now we will pay for our foolishness. He turned and walked away. Moreth sat alone on his throne, surrounded by the ghosts of 6,000 years of power. Outside, the stars were changing hands. The galaxy was being remade, and somewhere in the darkness between worlds, human ships were coming. They were coming with weapons, and soldiers and fire, but they were also coming with something else. Something the Council had never understood. Justice. And there would be no escape from it. The silence lasted 3 days. After New Incheon, humanity went quiet. No attacks. No messages. No demands. The galaxy held its breath and waited. Counselor Vrel spent those 3 days trying to find hope. He contacted every species he knew. He begged them to intervene, to negotiate, to do something. They all gave him the same answer. This was between humanity and the Council now. No one else wanted to be involved. On the morning of the 4th day, the silence ended. Admiral Tae Woo-jin stood on the bridge of the Dokdo and watched as 1,000 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel around him. The Cheongmyeong fleet, the secret fleet that Earth had been building for decades, hidden in asteroid fields and empty systems, waiting for the day they might be needed. That day had come. All ships report ready, his communications officer announced. Tae nodded. He looked out at the stars, at the vast darkness that separated him from the Council homeworld. Somewhere out there, 6 million ghosts were waiting for justice. He opened a channel to the fleet. 60 years ago, humanity joined the Galactic Council, he began. We came with open hands. We offered friendship, trade, partnership. We asked only to be treated as equals. His voice was calm, but there was steel beneath it. They refused. They called us primitives, animals. They restricted our colonies, blocked our trade, and laughed at our pain. When our children starved, they watched. When we begged for help, they killed. He paused. 3 weeks ago, they destroyed New Incheon. 6 million of our people, mothers, fathers, children, gone in a flash of light because a ruler was angry. His fists clenched at his sides. Today, we answer them. Not with rage, not with blind destruction, but with justice. We will take their military. We will capture their leaders. We will dismantle everything that made this possible. And when it is done, the galaxy will know that humanity is not to be threatened. He took a deep breath. Remember who we are. Remember what we are fighting for. And remember the ones we lost. Move out. 1,000 ships surged forward into the darkness. The final campaign lasted 6 weeks. It was methodical, precise, unstoppable. Human fleets swept through Council space like a tide. Military stations fell one after another. Defense fleets were destroyed or captured. The great shipyards that had built the Council's power for 6,000 years burned. But even as they destroyed, the humans built. They brought food to starving colonies. They freed prisoners from labor camps. They set up hospitals and shelters for refugees. They were conquerors, but they were also healers. General Sora Yun led the ground campaign. Her soldiers fought in conditions that would kill most species. They operated in vacuum without suits for short periods. They survived radiation that would poison other beings in minutes. They kept fighting when they should have been dead, but they did not kill civilians. They did not burn cities. They did not take revenge. A Moran soldier, captured after a battle, asked a human private why. The private shrugged. Orders. But your planet was destroyed. Your families were killed. You have every reason to hate us. The private looked at him for a long moment. He was young, barely 20, with tired eyes and dust on his face. I do hate you, he said honestly. Every time I close my eyes, I see New Incheon burning. I dream about my cousin who lived there. She was 15 years old. His voice cracked slightly, then steadied. But hate is not justice. Killing you would not bring her back. And if I murdered innocent people, what would that make me? I would be no different from Morith. He shook his head. We are better than that. We have to be. The Moran did not know what to say. He had been prepared to die. He had not been prepared for mercy. On the last day of the war, General Sora walked into the council chamber with a small escort. Her boots echoed on the marble floor. Her soldiers spread out behind her, weapons ready but not raised. High Speaker Morith sat alone on his throne. Every other council member had fled or surrendered. The great hall that had once held thousands was empty and dark. So, Morith said. His voice was tired, but still proud. The animals have come. Sora walked closer. She looked at the old Orathy, at his gray skin and 4 eyes and 4 arms. He was ancient, powerful, the ruler of a civilization that had lasted 6,000 years, and he had murdered 6 million people because he could not accept that humans were his equals. You are under arrest, Sora said. You will stand trial for crimes against humanity, for the murder of civilians, for the destruction of New Incheon. Morith laughed bitterly. A trial? You think I will submit to your primitive justice? I am the High Speaker. I answer to no one. You answer to the dead. Sora's voice was hard. Every child who burned on New Incheon. Every parent who watched their world die. You will look at their names and faces, and you will answer for what you did. Morith's 4 eyes studied her. Why do you not simply kill me? It is what I would do. I know. Sora met his gaze without flinching. That is why we are different. She gestured to her soldiers. They came forward and took Morith's arms, gently but firmly. The old Orathy did not resist. Perhaps he was too tired. Perhaps he had finally understood that there was no escape dot as they led him away. He asked one last question. Why? Why do you fight like this? You sacrifice everything. You never stop. You destroy without mercy and rebuild without hatred. I have lived for 800 years, and I have never understood a species less than yours. Sora thought about the question. She thought about her family on Earth. She thought about the soldiers who had died under her command. She thought about New Incheon. Because you killed our children, she said simply. And humans never forget. 2 months later, Ambassador Hana Kong stood before the new Galactic Assembly. The chamber had been rebuilt. New seats had been added. New species had been invited. The old council was gone. Something new had taken its place. Hana looked out at the hundreds of faces watching her. Orathy and Velith and Moran and dozens of others. Some were afraid. Some were angry. Some were hopeful. The war is over, she said. High Speaker Morth will stand trial tomorrow. The evidence against him is clear. Justice will be done. She paused. But I did not come here to talk about the past. I came to talk about the future. She took a deep breath. 60 years ago, humanity came to this galaxy hoping to find friends. We were disappointed. But we have learned something important in these last months. We have learned that most of you are not our enemies. Most of you were as trapped by the old council as we were. Most of you wanted peace. Her voice softened. We still want peace. We still want to be your partners, your allies, your friends. The war is over, but our offer remains. We will trade with you fairly. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. We will build a future where every species is treated as an equal. She looked directly at the Orthy delegation. They were the ones who had suffered most, their old empire broken and humbled. We do not hate you, Hana said. We know that Moroth does not represent all of your kind. Many of you opposed him. Many of you tried to stop him. We remember that. And we will not punish the innocent for the crimes of the guilty. She straightened her back. But I will also say this clearly, so that there is no misunderstanding. We could have destroyed you. We could have burned your worlds and killed your families and taken revenge for New Inchin. We had the power. We had the anger. We had every justification. Her voice hardened. We chose not to. We chose mercy. We chose justice instead of vengeance. But do not mistake our mercy for weakness. Do not think that because we spared you once, we will spare you again. She looked around the chamber. The humans have a saying. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We will not be fooled again. We will not be attacked again. We will not watch our children die again. She paused. Remember New Inchin. Remember the 6 million. Remember what happened to the ones who hurt us. And remember this most of all. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper, but every being in the chamber heard her clearly. We could have done far worse. We chose not to. Do not make us choose again. She stepped back from the podium. The galaxy listened. The galaxy remembered. And somewhere, in the darkness between stars, the ghosts of 6 million found their rest. The war was over. Humanity had won. But more importantly, humanity had stayed human. And that, perhaps, was the greatest victory of all.